Okay, so this is the first installment of Trojan Mobility. I'm using actually a bunch of different techniques I picked up from Dr. Kelly Starrett, as well as some other places just kind of online. I want to go over today particularly coaching techniques for squats. Our workout today, we're doing a lot of overhead squats, and typically anywhere you go, CrossFit-wise or pretty much anywhere else, if you tell someone to do an air squat, they do something similar to this. Right, which is fine. That's a fine air squat for going through the range of motion. One of the things that happens though a lot, what we end up seeing, I'm sure everyone kind of sees it, is you'll get someone who will have a great looking air squat, traditional air squat. We put a bar in their hands, either in an overhead position, a snatch position, or even a front rack, and that whole squat falls apart. We always say, oh, it's because of, we have to work on the flexibility, we have to work on strength, we have to work on range of motion for that movement. Well, what we can actually do is we can actually work on that range of motion and work on that flexibility and get the athlete in a better position for receiving that bar if we do the squat that correlates with that particular movement. So if you think about it in this perspective, if I'm doing a standard air squat, right, that's actually the exact same range of motion if I was doing a back squat. Right, we're going through the same range of motion. Now, if I want to work an overhead squat, it'd be better if I put myself in position for an overhead squat. So this is where it gets interesting. I go ahead and externally rotate my arms, get into that position, and drop down. And as you can see, even just right there, just kind of doing one really quick, not being stabilized or anything, you saw how the squat changed for me. I had a little breakdown in the ankle, I had some problem with keeping my torso upright, but that's the whole idea, is by externally rotating, opening everything up, I'm getting myself into the position for an overhead squat, right? My chest is open, my torso is vertical, back straight, I'm still going through the same range of motion, and obviously, without having actual weight in my hand, I do want to be pinned back. That's a lot harder to do though without anything to press against. But I'm still getting an external rotation. I'm putting myself in a better position to practice an overhead squat. So if we have an athlete who's particularly having a problem with getting into an overhead squat position with the bar, that's some way we can work on. That's a way we can work on that range of motion, get them familiar with that feeling, and we can fix any kind of problems there might be. Whether it be a problem with the hip, problem with the feet, the ankles. Wherever the range of motion is missing or something sticking, we can fix it with an air squat. Same idea with if we're doing a front squat. Hands behind the head, range of motion. Same idea. A much more vertical chest. We're putting our arms into a rack position. We have our heads, we can actually hold that because it's much harder to keep your arms up there without any kind of weight, which is why PVCs, we always chuck them up under our neck. But that gets you into that position, and again, it helps with working that movement. So one of the things that we're going to be incorporating moving forward is that whatever that particular day's squat exercise is, overhead squats or snatches, we're doing front squats or cleans or something of that nature. We're going to start practicing squats that correlate with that day's movement. And I would say for any other intensive day, any purposes, hey, we're doing 15 air squats, part of Cindy or part of Murph or something like that. A standard squat, which I would actually refer to from here on out, is a back air squat, would be just fine. That's sufficient. It gets through the range of motion. It's just fine to do. But we can also start challenging our athletes with taking that whatever motion they're bad with and using that for that day too. So again, if we're having someone who has a lot of problems with doing a overhead squat, maybe that particular day if they're doing Cindy, instead of doing a standard squat, again, as we're going to call it moving forward, a back air squat, they do an overhead air squat, right? And just work on that range of motion, work on getting everything open, and feeling the difference between doing that and doing a pitched forward back air squat. Hopefully that helps some. We'll see. Thanks so much.